Hi, this is Stuart Weinstein back and from Legal Talk. We just had a episode on violence against women, and today we are, the second episode, we are talking about class action and the EI case. In the studio today we have Stephen Moreau, and on Skype we have Jennifer McCrea. So it's an interesting piece. You have the lawyer as well as the person who filed the suit. So welcome to the show today, Stephen.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So, Stephen, if you could give us a quick bio of yourself and how you got involved and maybe set some parameters that we can then ask Jennifer about.
Well, it's an interesting story how I get myself involved. I'm a father of twins.
Okay.
It starts from that. And I have a father of twins colleague or friend who decided to challenge an aspect of the employment insurance regime regarding parental benefits. So I acquired a bit of a name for myself in EI and parental benefits. I found myself on a plane with a member of parliament about 3 years ago. And she told me about a constituent who was having her own problems with EI. And we got to talking, and I got to talking to that constituent eventually. And this constituent turned out to be Natalia Rugas, a woman who's in a very similar situation to Jennifer that we have this morning. And I helped with the Rugas case, and it sort of started from there.
So, Jennifer, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Welcome to the show, and sort of the situation that has led you to leading this class action lawsuit against EI. I believe it's $450 million?
Yes, it is. What happened in the summer of last year, I got diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 34.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I'm okay now. My baby Logan was about 8 months old at the time of my diagnosis, and I was on my maternity leave. And I basically contacted EI to find out what they would do to help me, and got a lengthy runaround and then a denial, and then I was in contact with Stephen to find out what he could do to help me. And we felt that the best way to help everybody was to go forward with the class action lawsuit.
Now, maybe sort of as a clarification for the viewers, one, just so you know, we did attempt to contact the ministry and Diane Finley's office to be here today. We weren't able to get somebody, so maybe prevailing on a future episode. But maybe you could sort of clarify, Stephen, in respect to if people have twins. I don't know if this ties in with her. If people have twins, double the benefits, and then sort of what is it that Jennifer wasn't allowed to? Maybe just sort of give people what the case revolves around.
Sure. I mean, the twins case is a very different case from Jennifer. So to keep matters simple, I think let's focus on Jennifer's situation for the moment. When you're working, you're paying premiums to the employment insurance regime. If you're ever let go from your job, you're fired, you get to collect EI benefits. It's like insurance. The house burns down, you get to collect the benefits. You get fired, it's not your fault, you collect benefits. When you have a child, for various reasons, we as a society decided that you should also be able to collect employment insurance benefits as well. It's a similar moment of interruption from work. So you collect two major benefits when you're in Jennifer's situation. You collect a maternity leave benefit to help you recover from pregnancy, and that's a 15-week benefit. And then you collect a parental leave benefit. But what parliamentarians noticed was that many women who are pregnant get ill, and many women who have children get ill. And Parliament decided at some point about 10 years ago that people who get ill should be also be allowed to collect what's called a sickness benefit. So where Jennifer comes in is that she's getting sick while on a parental leave, and the government is saying, well, we have rules of interpretation around sickness benefits that in effect deny all women access to the sickness benefit. So you've had this strange runaround, as she called it a runaround just a moment ago, where you're being told on the one hand you get a sickness benefit, but on the other hand there are rules which deny the sickness benefit. There's just something missing in this equation.
So how many people are now on this class action lawsuit, or how many people have come to mention that they're in a similar situation?
Well, I've already received calls and emails from dozens of people, and we're getting hits already on a Facebook page, and we have a website where people can input their information. So we already are hearing from quite a few people, and this is all across the country.
Maybe you can just briefly just mention your phone number so people can call you if they haven't already.
Sure. Phone number is 416-964-5541. Email is smoreau@cavalluzzo.ca. LUZZO.com.
Okay, we'll be mentioning that a minute at the end of the show. So Jennifer, maybe you can talk further about, like when you talk about the runaround, was the customer service rude? Was it unresponsive? Like where sort of did it leave you, and how did you get in touch with Stephen?
Well, in dealing with EI, my surgeon and I agreed that I was going to go for a bilateral mastectomy on August 11th. And so I contacted the EI office early August and said to them, I'm on a mat leave. I've just been diagnosed with breast cancer and have to have surgery. Is there anything you can do for me? And the first person that I talked to said, yeah, what we do, we'll stop your parental leave, we'll insert sick leave, and put you back on your parental leave. And she even had a date that I was going to go back to work sometime in November. And I was told to get some, like a letter from my surgeon stating what was going on and how many weeks I would need to recover. I went and got all that in the midst of having breast cancer and having to have surgery, as well as looking after my 2 little boys. And then after my surgery, my doctor gave me another letter for a couple more weeks off for my recovery. And then I took that into the office and kept calling and checking up. And whenever I would call, they would say, "Oh, we have your claim here, but we haven't had anybody give us an answer. Call back in 3 days." And I would call back in 3 days, sometimes be on hold all day, sometimes not get through. "Oh, give us a call back in 2 days." And finally, it was, that went all the way till the middle of September until somebody did call me back that was a supervisor that said, "Oh, you're not working right now. You're not going to get this benefit." So I was not happy with that. And then, a couple of days later, they did give me an actual, you are denied this request. We're not going to let you have this benefit. And I contacted my MP office out here to see if they could assist me, but they couldn't. My girlfriend back home in Regina, I was telling her about my situation and how frustrated I was, and she sent me an email, and it was just an article about Natalia Rugas, who had just won in July there, her right, and her story seemed very similar to mine. So I emailed Stephen and contacted him to say, here's what happened to me. Do you think I have a case?
And in respect to, Stephen, sort of like you said, there's parts that still have to go through this to be considered a class action, or is it anyone can file a class action once you want to file it?
Well, let me pick up on what Jennifer said, because this will help answer this question.
Okay.
So Natalia Rugas, who Jennifer just mentioned, same situation. She's working. She has a child. It's a boy, just like Jennifer. She gets breast cancer, just like Jennifer. She has pretty much the same surgery plus chemotherapy. And then she asks for a sickness leave. She doesn't get it. I get involved. We get it for her in mid-2011.
So how long did that process take?
It took about 2 years.
2 years, okay.
So you can imagine, it took 2 years for this individual, while she's dealing with breast cancer, to get a benefit that is worth, I think, about $6,000. That was an undertaking, to say the least.
Okay.
So then we win this decision before what's called an umpire. The government studies it, and we get a response not from some official or some lawyer. We get a response from the ministry's office itself that they are not appealing this decision. This is the Rugas decision. So I think, naively, we've won. And then when Jennifer emailed me, I must confess I got a bit upset, because the idea of winning a case is that it's not supposed to happen again. The message needs to be sent. Instead, for some reason, the message didn't get sent to the people Jennifer was dealing with. And so when Jennifer called me, my initial reaction was to say, okay, I guess we could go through another 2 years for Jennifer and get her $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. Or what we could do is we could crack this once and for all. And that's what the class action is all about. The class, and this answers your question, the idea of a class action is Jennifer is proposing to the federal court here in Canada a class action for all women that are in her situation. And okay. the court has to look at this and decide whether they're going to what we call certify it as a class action. They essentially have to give it permission. Because Jennifer can't by herself, and there's a second class plaintiff I should add too. Her name is Carissa, and she had a blood disease. These two individuals can't just say, we're suing the government on behalf of everyone. There has to be some control, and the court is going to take control of the case and say, this is a good case, this is not a good case, this is the kind of case that should go forward as a class action. So you can imagine that this is going to be a long-standing process.
And I guess sort of 2 points. And Jen, financially, how has this sort of put you into being able to work or not being able to work currently, and your financial situation has been impacted from this situation?
In my case, I have returned to work, and it's a thing of, I very much could have used that additional time off work, to recover with my family. And again, I pay into those premiums, so I should get that benefit. I should get that if it's due to me. And there's other women out there that, like Carissa or like myself, that, it's every penny helps, especially when you have a new baby. And when you're dealing with so much other stress as well. So,
what industry are you in, if I may ask?
What's that? Sorry.
What industry are you in?
I'm again like an office manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has the doctor given you a clean bill of health?
My doctor has given me a clean bill of health. Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I guess, so back to Stephen, are there other parts of EI? I mean, you're tackling this part a second time, but are there other parts of EI that are also falling through the cracks in terms of where you may be getting a call? Somebody said, oh, this is happening in another part of EI?
There are a few other parts of EI that we've attacked, some successfully and some not so successfully. Obviously, this is one that we latched onto quite successfully with Ms. Rugas and Jennifer. Another related one, there are two related cases I have related to parental leave itself. One is, I mentioned at the start, I'm a father of twins. Normally, when you apply for employment insurance, you get, for parental leave, you get one 35-week parental leave benefit to share between the couple.
Okay.
So you have to have two working people. Both are taking time off. They can share a 35-week benefit. What I'm contending in my one case is that you should be able to collect a second benefit.
Okay.
We know that you can collect second benefits if you have two children separately. Let's say you have one child and then a year later you have another.
Okay.
We know you can collect two children if you have what we call two events. Let's say you adopt one child and you also give birth to another child, sort of around the same time.
Okay.
So the two parents can take 70 weeks off in total. But for some reason, if the two babies happen to be born at the same time, you only get one 35-week benefit. So this is a real gap in the system.
Okay.
And the reason why it's a gap, this isn't a handout. I think Jennifer nailed it directly. Jennifer's been paying into the EI system for, I think, she can correct me if I'm wrong, almost 20 years.
Okay.
And that's $700+ a year for pretty much on average.
Okay.
So parents who pay into the system are saying, at this one moment in our lives, and I'm talking now about the twins case, at this one moment of our lives when we are really needy and can't work, because we have to care for our children. We don't have parents to care for our children. They're working too.
Okay.
We have two income earners. What we're saying is it makes sense that you would have a second income earner at home for 35 weeks, and that's what the Act requires, and if it doesn't, then there's something wrong with that statute. So there's a major attack. We're talking about 10,000 families a year that we hope to benefit with that one. There's another situation where parents who foster a child, so they haven't adopted the child yet, they're fostering the child. They are allowed, in my view, to be able to claim an adoptive leave benefit. You don't just get parental benefits for giving birth to a child. You can also claim parental benefits for adopting a child or having a desire to adopt a child that is coming under your care and you're fostering temporarily. The government recently said we're not going to pay adoptive benefits for people who are fostering a child as opposed to adopting a child. And we challenged that, and quite early in the process, the government, I think, rightly backed down. And they are now introducing legislation to clarify that all, at least that's my understanding, all people who are fostering children get to claim a parental leave benefit.
Now today's goal is what we call a blueprint episode, which basically sort of says we've introduced it sort of as an icebreaker at a high level. Where do you see us following, like for future episodes coming back to prevailing on you and your clients on the show, on Legal Talk, where would you see the focus to be?
Well, I think the focus needs to be on what is the government going to say. When we have done what we've done for Natalia and for Jennifer in the past, we get two-line answers from a spokesperson at Diane Finley, the Ministry of Human Resources office. We get answers, canned answers. So after Natalia Rugas one, we were told that the way Ms. Rugas was treated, this is in writing, the way Ms. Rugas was treated was unfair and unfortunate. and that legislation needs to be introduced to improve the situation of women like Natalia, and now I guess now like Jennifer. And these little two-line answers, they're nice to hear, but they don't really advance the situation. Now that we've actually put it out there that the government has made a mistake, a legal mistake, that can only be corrected with a court order, I think we're about to receive a much more formal response. We're about to get to the bottom of what has happened here. And that's where it's interesting. You don't have a ministry spokesperson here. You just mentioned that at the start. Well, we might get something close to that in legal documentation from the government that's either going to tell us, we accept this claim, we deny this claim, here's why we deny this claim. And we might get told where the government thinks our claim should be argued, where we should go with our claim. We can't wait to hear what they're going to say, because I think it's high time that we hear from them.
And Jennifer, how would you sort of say, like sort of as a follow-up at Legal Talk, where do you want us to, where do you see this being talked about further and reporting on further?
Well, I mean, the case is going to probably take a length of time. So just to keep making updates on it, and I mean, you could very easily follow my progress in June, where I do have to go for another surgery. I'm going to go for my reconstruction, so I'll have breasts again. But like the story continues. The story continues.
So it must be very, like, unfortunate, like a double mastectomy around this time must be like really double stress for you and your family. And it sounds like you're really coping well, and hopefully you're going to be doing a lot to help a lot of women. Maybe you could mention your contact information again to the...
Sure. You start with SMOREAU at CAVALLUZZO.com.
And phone number?
Phone number is 416-964-5541. We have a Facebook page. It's called MOM, Mums on Maternity. We have a website that you can link to from that Facebook page. And my firm's website, CAVALLUZZO.com, Cavalluzzo, it has a link to the website as well on the Class Actions tab. So we're reaching out.
Okay, well, thank you very much for both Jennifer McCrea and Steve Moreau. If you didn't catch that, you'll be able to catch that on my site. You can follow me on Twitter at WLegal, 416-224-0200, legalall.info, and we'll have that information for you to be able to deal with it. If you are in a similar EI situation or other problems with EI or other related pieces, that they'll be able to assist you. This is Stuart Weinstein for Legal Talk. Just to let you know that as we build for investors, sponsors, advertisers, and viewership, we talk about the issues that no one will talk about because it's important that they get resolved. 416-224-0200, Legal Talk. I'm Stuart Weinstein, and we will see you on Friday, February 3rd. Thank you very much, Stuart Weinstein and Legal Talk.